I left the LDS Church because I was offended. Today, I want to share with you that story with all of you. A story that's deeply personal, filled with challenges, faith, and the blessings of heaven, and the eventual stepping away from my faith due to being offended. I hope you'll stay for that story. My journey began years ago when I felt an unmistakable pull toward spirituality. Seeking answers, I found myself investigating the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. The teachings resonated with my soul, and along with the warmth of the congregation, it wasn't long before I knew I had found something special. I eagerly embraced the faith, and the day I was baptized remains etched in my heart. Standing in the waters, I felt a sense of renewal, of being cleansed, and ready for this new chapter in my life. It was a pivotal moment, and I knew that my purpose was aligned with something greater. Finding love in this journey was a true blessing. Hand in hand with the love of my life, we did the Mormon thing and we took the sacred step of marriage within the walls of the Holy Temple. Kneeling, hand in hand across the altar, we made covenants that would bind us together for time and all eternity. It was a day of immense joy and profound significance. Throughout the years, I dedicated myself to service within the church. My passion for sharing the teachings of Jesus Christ and uplifting others led me to become deeply involved immediately and along the way, serving in various roles, including being called as a bishop in my late 20s. I wholeheartedly gave my time, energy, and heart to building a stronger, more connected community and to building up the kingdom of God. Yet, along this path, I encountered questions that shook my faith, challenged my beliefs, and left me troubled, seeking even deeper understanding. Embracing these doubts was not easy, but it was necessary for my growth. It led me to a place of vulnerability, where I learned that it's okay to question, to wrestle with faith, to seek truth. I had meetings with stake presidencies, and along the way, even had an opportunity to speak with the church historian and even an apostle of the Lord Jesus Christ, an apostle of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. But no one had sufficient answers. And looking into one question always led to the discovery of more issues and growing concern that the facts found within the history didn't match the narrative or the truth claims that I had been taught. So now, with you having taken the time to get to know me, my faith journey, and the time I have spent trying to be the best Latter-day Saint I could be, I'm ready to tell you about why I was offended and how this led me to stepping away from the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. Here's a list of the things that were offensive to me. First, the financial scandals and misuse of resources. As I learned more about the financial dealings of the LDS Church, my heart sank. The emphasis on tithing over feeding one's family or paying one's bills. Even in the modern moment, the SEC violation, where the church leadership enacted an investment plan, unethically creating dummy companies and intentionally avoiding mandatory reports in order to hide $32 billion. How about telling the African saints to pay tithing in order to escape poverty? And the leak informing the world of how well paid LDS leaders were, when all my life I was taught it was a lay ministry. Witnessing money being wasted on a lavish mall, bailing out a life insurance company, all instead of being used for charitable purposes, while hoarding billions and billions of dollars, have continued to deeply trouble me. The predatory behavior of Joseph Smith. Facing the historical evidence of Joseph Smith's predatory behavior was heart-wrenching. The stories of Lucy Walker, the Partridge Sisters, Fanny Elger, Helen Mar Kimball unveiled a dark side that deeply contradicted the image I once held of our faith's founder. The manipulation of vulnerable individuals, especially children, was difficult to accept. The coercion and grooming of children, often threatening their salvation and pressuring them in unhealthy ways to commit to intimate relationships with Joseph Smith, were behaviors that I would not excuse in any man. Leaders' compromised integrity offended me. I found it hard to reconcile the actions of many LDS leaders with their proclaimed integrity. Instances of deep dishonesty within the church shook my trust. It pained me to see example after example of compromised integrity of character and broken promises, eroding the foundation of faith I once had. Problematic truth claims offended me. The LDS Church's truth claims were a complex web of contradictions and historical inaccuracies. As I explored the evidence, I couldn't ignore the problematic aspects laid bare. Mormon violence and harmful culture offended me. The historical record of Mormon violence has troubled me deeply. The Whistling Whittlers, the Danites, the concept of blood atonement unveiled a darker side of our past. But equally concerning was the modern-day harm caused by teachings that shamed and blamed individuals for their struggles, their doubts, their questions, and their differences. Such includes organizations like the Strengthening Church Members Committee, where members are spied on and reported on in order to shame, criticism, and differing viewpoints so as to silence those who raise a voice. The shifting historical narratives and the unprophetic leadership offended me. The ever-changing historical narrative and the lack of clear prophecy and prophetic leadership were difficult to ignore. The changing accounts of early history, such as the Book of Mormon translation, the evolving concepts of doctrine and theology, such as exaltation, the revelations that shined a light on unhealthy behavior and problems with Joseph Smith's character, and the alterations to the saving ordinances of the temple left me questioning the divine guidance I once believed in. The harm to marginalized groups offended me. The harm caused to women, children, people of color, and LGBT individuals was painful to acknowledge. The race and priesthood ban, the patriarchal treatment of women, homophobic doctrines and policies, and the unsafe environment for children were distressing and deeply inconsistent with the loving and inclusive teachings I once cherished. In terms of how patriarchy offended me, Mormon patriarchy grants men, particularly priesthood holders, significant authority and decision-making power over women, perpetuating traditional gender roles and leading to inequality and subordination of women in various aspects of the church. Exclusion from priesthood relegates women to supportive roles, limiting their spiritual authority, their leadership opportunities, and their representation in shaping church policies. This reinforces gender stereotypes, suppresses diverse perspectives, and hinders women's agency, autonomy, and leadership development. Mormon patriarchy and sexism harmfully reinforce gender equalities and limits women's full potential and contributions to the church. In regards to people of color and how that offended me, historically, people of color in Mormonism face discrimination and marginalization. The race and priesthood ban until 1978 denied those folks access to priesthood and temple ordinances, perpetuating racial inequalities and limiting participation. This exclusion led to overt and systemic racism within the church community, fostering a harmful narrative of spiritual inferiority. Despite the ban's lifting, remnants of racism have persisted, including microaggressions and unequal treatment within predominantly white congregations. Historical narratives promoted discriminatory views impacting Native Americans and people of African descent. While the LDS Church has taken small steps to address racial issues, the legacy of past discrimination still affects some members of color seeking equal representation and recognition within the faith community, and the church has yet to apologize for its racism of the past and continues to affect people in the here and now. In regards to how the church around the LGBTQ issue has offended me, LGBTQ individuals historically up to the modern moment face harm and discrimination in the LDS Church due to teachings on same-sex attraction and gender identity. The church endorsed harmful practices like conversion therapy, the November policy of 2015, the Family Proclamation, and the teachings of leaders that have suggested unhealthy views around homosexuality, and such has placed great pressure on LGBTQ members to compromise their authentic selves in order to fit in a box of a small religious narrative. LGBTQ members were excluded from privileges, leading to isolation and emotional distress. The church's teachings on marriage and family also pose challenges when folks do not fit in healthy ways into the expectations of the church. Despite recent efforts, many LGBTQ individuals still feel unsupported within the Mormon community, resulting in emotional pain and a sense of alienation. In regards to how the LDS Church handles those with doubts and questions and how that offends me, doubters and non-believers within Mormonism often face harm, including social rejection, emotional distress, spiritual guilt, and a loss of community. Expressing doubts can lead to a decline in self-esteem and fear of negative consequences affecting their sense of self. The church's culture may perpetuate misunderstandings by labeling those who hold doubts as less than and broken. Often, believers feel pressure to distance themselves from those with doubts, showing a lack of empathy and a spirit of distrust towards them. And doubters often live with fear of being discovered and incurring potential disciplinary action or shunning if found to be openly expressing disbelief. This lack of support creates a challenging and isolating experience for individuals outside traditional belief paradigms. Maybe most importantly, I want to talk for a moment about how the teachings, policies, and procedures around children have offended me. Children within Mormonism are harmed due to the unhealthy boundaries, including one-on-one bishops' interviews, where questions are often in the realm of sexual identity and one's sexual behavior, including negative views around things like masturbation. Other areas of unhealthy boundaries include deference to male priesthood, lack of consent in baptism, gender role expectations, limited sexual education and unhealthy sexual views, LGBTQ stigmatization, guilt and shame, pressure for mission service, and parental alienation. These boundaries have detrimental effects on children's mental and emotional development, leading to lasting challenges in adulthood. The policies and teachings around some other groups also is offensive. Mormonism hurts various segments of people, including non-believing spouses, mixed faith families, former members, sexual abuse survivors, racial and ethnic minorities, individuals with mental health challenges, converts, and those in a faith crisis. These individuals face strained relationships, tension, shunning, and marginalization, discouragement from seeking help, and emotional distress within the Mormon community. Mormonism is a high-demand fundamentalist religion, and recognizing the harm that it does to women, to people of color, to LGBT folks, to those who have doubts or disbelief, to children, and to others was deeply offensive to me. I appreciate each and every one of you following along in this video and giving me a chance to share my own journey and my thoughts. Before I conclude, I want to extend an invitation to each one of you. If you have any questions about the facts or claims I've shared here today, I encourage you to look below in the show notes for this video. There you'll find multiple sources and references that you can explore to research and verify the information I've presented. Seeking truth is a collective endeavor. It's vital to approach information with an open mind and a critical eye. I believe in empowering each of you to draw your own conclusions based on well-researched and credible sources. I encourage each of you to explore diverse perspectives, both within and outside the LDS community. Engaging with a wide range of viewpoints helps us each to foster empathy, deepen our knowledge, and build a more nuanced understanding of complex topics. Confidence is not a substitute for clarity. Regardless of where our beliefs may lead us, it's essential to remember our shared humanity. Let us approach these conversations with kindness and respect, recognizing that we all strive to seek truth and meaning in our lives. If you find yourself wanting to discuss any aspect of my journey or the topics covered today, please feel free to reach out. I'm open to continued dialogue and eager to listen to your thoughts and experiences. You can reach me at billreeljr@gmail.com. BILLREELJR@gmail.com. Thank you once again for being part of this conversation. And remember that the pursuit of truth is a lifelong journey, and together we can navigate the complexities of life with honesty, compassion, and understanding. As I lay out these reasons for why I was offended and stepped away from the LDS Church, I want to emphasize that my departure from the LDS Church was not a simple matter. I was offended, but not in the lazy way that the LDS Church insinuates happens to folks like me. Rather, it was decades of heavy, exhaustive research. It was a journey of grappling with troubling truths, confronting contradictions, and facing the reality of faith that no longer aligned with my conscience and values. My hope is that sharing my story will help others understand that often leaving isn't about taking offense in petty ways. It's about having values that expect honesty, transparency, authenticity, truthfulness, and accountability. In learning that the faith I loved wasn't able to meet me in those values that I was upholding. While the church taught me those values, it didn't live them, and that was offensive to my soul. Thank you for listening. Until next time, take care, and let us continue seeking truth together. Check out the show notes for this video, and remember, knowledge is power. Embrace curiosity, be kind to one another, and may our paths lead us to deeper understanding and shared humanity.